So this video was intended as the culmination of my Jamaica Love Fest, and pretty much everything that could have gone wrong with it has. I'm coming down from a cold, for one thing. Also, all these bottles I'm going to be talking about, I meant to get fresh versions of them to match this Charley's here. And actually, pretty much all of these are having trouble with distribution in Chicago. So I did have a fresh bottle of Rum Fire around to crack open, but that's pretty much it. I'm as shocked as anyone that Wray and Nephew was out at the distributor, but we're going to roll with it. Okay, so let's jump right in. Say you've got $30 or less, and you want to buy something good at an American liquor store. You've got a lot of options, actually. So just starting with American whiskey, right? You have got Turkey 101. You've got a bunch of old granddads. You've got Old Tub. Just from the fact that it's on closeout doesn't mean it isn't good. You have got, if you're more adventurous, you can do Balcones bourbon. And if you head into Ryes, you've got tons of like cheap MGP stuff. I like the James E. Pepper. And then of course you can even beyond that, there's malts out there which are actually pretty solid. The Glenmoray, the sherry cask finish I just reviewed. That's actually very, very good. There's gins under like $30 and under that are very good and well worth your consideration. There are vodkas I think are solid. Brandy, yes. Sacred Bond from Christian Brothers, actually quite good, worth your grab. Everything from Laird's in Jersey, which is not their Applejack. Don't buy the Applejack. Do not buy the Applejack. Everything else is worth your consideration. And yeah, there's some really good $30 and under rums as well. Many of which I reviewed. And then there's these. The Overproof standard bottling Jamaicans, the things you can find for super duper cheap in flask format, sold in every bar in the Caribbean, basically. And these basically leave everything I just mentioned for dead. For dead, absolutely. These are the things when you actually go to Jamaica. This is what the normal people drink. Like, they are not after, Appleton 21. They are not after, like the super duper aged Clarendon or whatever. They're drinking this stuff. Overwhelmingly, they're drinking Wray and Nephew, but if you look around, you will also see the Rum Bar. You'll see a little bit of Moni Musk as well, kind of tucked in the corners. I didn't get a bottle of that because it looked a little sketchy. Among the nerds and the people who are very cheap, you will see Charley's. And among the absolute maniacs, you will see a little bit of Rum Fire Love as well. But basically, folks, these are the things that they are actually drinking. And they're fabulous, even beyond the sheer might of the things. Like, every one of these is bottled at 6.33%, 126 proof. Even OGD 114 isn't that strong. Even beyond that, though, like, these are really just full of character and quality. There's a lot of pot distillate in these. Like, okay, sure, like, with the Balcones, you're getting pot distillation. With the Glenmoray, you're getting pot distillation. But these are so much stronger. And, like, often there's interesting fermentation tricks. There's dunner usage. There's use of the vinyasa, the leftover stillage in distillation. There's a craft going into these that I don't see happening in almost anything else at this price point. So I have not tried these together before, lined up all in a row like this, and it seemed like this was the time. I'm not going to re-review these because, I mean, what am I going to give them different scores? I don't know. I would need different bottlings for that, and these are all kind of the same bottlings as I reviewed a couple of years ago. But I am going to kind of not rank them, contextualize them, I guess is the way of putting it. All right, so let's talk about Wray and Nephew. Overproof Rye. This is the rock upon which this channel is built. The first review I ever did on this thing, which was not very good, by the way, but the first review I ever did was this rum. Oh, and God, it is good. Yeah, so I was just beginning to tease this thing out when I reviewed it. Like the way the pot distillate and the column distillate is interacting is really, really special. And it's kind of what makes this. So you've got these very kind of green, almost like root vegetable notes, and some pickle notes as well. Like all that is happening, but it's like softened up and almost given this kind of dessert sense by the column distillate, which is bringing a lot of creme brulee, whipped cream kind of sensations. I got some water here. Hold on. So it's not the magic of one distillate of the other that is making this work. It's the way they interact, the way they just like synergize to make this third thing, which is really, really, really impressive. I mean, this product is everywhere in Jamaica. Like it is, like you go to the grocery stores, they have this stacked up to the ceiling. It's that they have that much of it, but despite it being that common, Jesus, it is, the quality is there. On the palate, same kind of story. It's like pickles and carrots and sweet potatoes, but dessert. Like you made a pie out of them and put whipped cream on top and some white pepper for fun. I'm going to be honest with you. Wray and Nephew Overproof is not my favorite of these. It really isn't. Like, we're going to get the rest of these, but I don't think it's going to win this out. I don't even know if it's going to beat the Charlies. We shall see. But this is available in basically every decent liquor store in the world. Like, you know, some of the nerdy single barrel crap I review on this channel is not, you know, available at a liquor store near you. This is like anywhere in the world you can get this, and you can probably get this for not a whole lot of money. And I mean, you compare this to some of the other like worldwide ubiquitous brands. Johnny Walker Black, Jack Daniels, Maker's Mark, like all that stuff. And this is just, it's probably less expensive than a lot of it, and it's so much more. This is just, I don't know how they make this much of this, like make this at this scale and with this level of branding and have it be this good. God, there's even a freshness to this. like these are kind of warm as far as bottles go, but you chill this down a little bit. You have this not in the freezer certainly, but like in the fridge. This is refreshing. There's like a little bit of like a lemon zesty thing going on. Really nice. I do not have my eyedropper. Give me a second. Here we go. I'm going to add some water to this. We'll come back to it. And this is the bottle I reviewed 3 years ago. Like this is, like I have not reopened a new bottle since then. Like this is still going strong at 3 years open, and that's impressive. The other thing you will see a lot of Jamaicans drinking is Campari, which is the parent brand of this. And if I may, to the folks watching, this is better than Campari, and it is cheaper. Like, get this instead, if you're not going to get any of these other three. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Charley's. Charley's is the mysterious one. Charley's JB Overproof. They're saying it's Jamaican's best. The drinkers think it is John Crobatti, which has its own history. Is called they're saying it's distilled and bottled in Jamaica for the Trelawney Rum Company. But if you look on the back, it is actually made by the same Wray and Nephew as this previous bottling. It's also a little bit like yellow. I don't know if you can see that in this terrible light. Like, I'm recording this at 9 o'clock, right? I just put my like 1-year-old to bed. But yeah, this is, no one knows quite what this is, and that kind of makes it fun. It is cheaper than the Wray and Nephew though, which is kind of half the appeal. If you want to think of like a Pabst Blue Ribbon of Jamaica, a PBR of Jamaica, this is kind of what that is. It's the one that is enjoyed by the people who are a little bit too cheap and a little bit nerdy. Not even nerdy, like hipster. They're too cool for Wray and Nephew. They're buying Charley's instead. And there's a similarity. Like, there's that synergy again between the pot distillate and the column distillate, and that slightly like whipped cream desserty character, but it's so much more like kind of weird and jagged than the Wray and Nephew is. Sorry. Yeah, there's some like oh Jesus, like lots more olives for one thing. This is Olive City. There's still some sweet potato in there. But they're like weird giant sweet potatoes. In some ways it smells sweeter, like there's more of almost a cola note in this. More peppery. It's more kind of, how do I put this? Like a Baroque product. It's a little bit more in your face and aggressive, but not worse for that on the palate. Arrives with a lot of black pepper, and then closes with this kind of funky, almost like funky sweetness, which is interesting. It's a fun one to pull apart. Yeah, the like the not even sweet potato yams. The baked yams thing is very strong on this, with pickles in there and a little bit of vanilla and but also the creme brulee, the whipped cream is there. These two are both blended rums, and it kind of shows. But definitely the olive, the black pepper, some fun fruitiness. What is that? Like maybe a hair bit of like cherry eau de vie happening. Whatever it is, this is very good. It is very, very, very good. And again, I bought this at duty free for about $14, and it's duty free, so they were charging me a lot for what this is. You can get this cheaper on the island itself. All right, let's put some water into this. We'll come back to it. Yeah, on the finish, it has this weird, like, sweet and sour thing that it's hard to wrap my brain around. If you are going to Jamaica and you're going to bring anything back, bring a bottle of this, because among all these is the one that does not get U.S. distribution. Your rum nerd friends will thank you. All right, moving on. Rum Bar. Rum Bar was on shelves in Chicago for a little while, and it seems to have completely disappeared because no one cared, and I think that is completely wrong. Rum Bar is the overproof rum from Worthy Park in St. Catherine Parish, and it is all pot still, but it is relatively low ester pot still. Oh god, and it's just a different world. I mean, this, like, you can pick up on the column distillate elements in these first two. With the Worthy Park, like, it really smells almost more like an eau de vie of some kind, almost like an eau de vie of cane syrup. If I've talked before about my love for Rivers rum from Granada, and this is, you can see the relationship to that. There's a lot of green elements on there. The olives are very present. Just the caniness of this. But then there's some really like beautiful floral notes, like rose water. It's just rich and beautiful, and it's not super duper funky, but it's just quietly content with being, a kind of eau de vie of cane. That's what this is. Except it's bottled at, 126 proof. And I appreciate that. I gotta say, of all these, this is the one. The Rum Bar is the one where I always forget just how good it is. God damn, that is very nice. Again, extremely peppery, but bringing just a lot of olives. And a lot of just like these beautiful savory but also floral notes. It's like someone took a mushroom stew and dumped a bunch of roses into it. This is great. Oh, but the pepper is not to be denied. This is real good. If you're a fan of these, especially if you're a fan of Wray and Nephew, and you have not tried the Rum Bar, You need to do yourself an absolute favor and hunt this down. This is real good. I mean, all these are real good, but what's really impressive about these is that they're different. They aren't all playing the same tricks. They're not the same bottle. Like, there's similarities certainly, but there's just enormous differences from, one end of this to the other. And speaking of the other end, we're going to get to the Hampden in a second. Okay, that's enough water for the rum bar. Oh God, it's good. It's just, this rum bar it's just so, like, understated, but at the same time complex, and, like, it's beautiful, but it's so, like green at the same. I love this. I love this. As the sort of person who really, really enjoys a good, like, bell pepper driven Chinon from the Loire Valley in France, like, this absolutely, like, this does it for me. It really does. Moving on. Last up, the one I saw really the least of in Jamaica while I was there, Rum Bar from Hampden. And this is interesting because this is the one of all these four, which is, basically marketed as a high ester rum. So on the nose, yeah, and it just is like it's another world from these previous three. So there is a note I kind of developed while trying to understand Hampden's DOK, the dock mark, which is a note of, like, rocks turning into flowers and then back again. That kind of rocks flowers interplay. You were starting to get it in this. It's not going crazy, but it's there, and it really, you're on the threshold of, like, high ester madness with this. You're not stepping too deep in there, but you're there. Yeah, rocks and flowers, cherry cola, which is one of my, like, keynotes for Hampden. God, there's just so much stuff. It's when you haven't added water yet, it's really hard to get a beat on this because it's just so dense and so complex. Okay, I'm leaving too much dead air on this. I should be talking right now. But it's a great, and this is $30. $30 last I've seen in Chicago. Like, all of these are around that same price mark. The Wray Nephew is less. Charley's, when you can buy it, is way less. And they're this good. God, this is good. I mean, and, like, once you kind of get acclimated, there's some fennel notes happening here. There's some herbaceous stuff. Good Lord, this is good. On the palate with this Rum Fire. Yeah, unlike the Rum Bar, I can always kind of remember how good this is. But just because I'm not shocked does not mean that this isn't, like, stellar stuff. Jesus Christ. I could write a laundry list. Cherry cola, rocks and flowers turning into each other, living together, chaos, pandemonium, fennel. Oh, man. Find me something outside of this category that can stand up to this for 40 bucks or 30 bucks. Just try. Just try. Like, I'm here. You can leave a comment down below. You can message me on the Reddits. Like, just find me something that does this, that delivers this much. God, it's phenomenal. The only thing I can say against this is if you're doing some mixing, be very, very, very cautious when you're using Rum Fire, because it tends to just take over everything. Like, it is not, just going to submit and, be happy getting along with other things in some kind of cocktail blend. Like, this needs to be front and center, or it will make itself front and center. You know what I'm saying? And in some ways, it's less versatile for that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Five and a half. I mean, yeah, this is just, as a lineup, averaging under 30 bucks a bottle. Like, you cannot beat this. At this moment, as I record this video, you cannot beat these for their QPR purposes. Like, the amount of flavor and just, like, raw power these are delivering. Like, I put 5 squirts in each of these, and they're still talking. Like, and find me anything else that does that for, like, under 30 bucks. Like, really. Like, this, you try any of these, let alone all of them, and your sense of, like, what quality is in spirits, like, it just has to change. It has to adjust to the reality that stuff like this exists. That's how good these are. Right, back to the Wray and Nephew with water. After the Hampden and these two, like, pot still monsters, I really appreciate just how, like, round and easygoing this is. It's like drinking sweet potato birthday cake. It's really nice. Again, it's not my favorite of these. It really isn't. But you can buy Wray and Nephew anywhere for not a whole lot of money. And there's a lot to be said for that. Like, this is one of the great rums of the world. It really is. Just on the virtue of just, like, there's a gajillion bottles of this, and they're all good. And they're all way better than almost everything you can get at this price point, save other Jamaican overproof rums. Like, that's its only competition. And if you're losing that competition, you're doing okay. The Charleys. This is the one, I will be honest, this is the one I've been puzzling over the most as I've been having it open. Yeah, there's like a fun, like, orange peel note coming out with now that I'm adding water to it. I've been puzzling, like, most of the rest of these say white on there somewhere. This is the only one that does not say white overproof rum. So I'm wondering, is there, like, an aged component in this? And if so, why are you putting, like, an aged component in your, like, cheap backwoods rum? Like, why bother with that? There's a lot about Charley's that confuses me, but the quality is certainly there. There's like a lemon peel olives kind of thing happening. It's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if it was bringing actually more pot distillate than the Wray and Nephew, but like, I don't know, like grungy pot distillate, if that makes sense. On the palate. I do love the pepper hit. It's so weird. Like, it's so peppery, and there's that little olive heavy thing on the mid palate, but then it finishes like with that sweet and sour thing. And yet it works. Like it's a little awkward and it certainly does not have the like the poise of the Wray and Nephew, but I'm not sure if it's worse. I'm not sure if it's losing to the Wray and Nephew. Um, I mean, to use an analogy, like you see two bros who are both squatting, and one bro has like absolutely textbook purpose, perfect form, and he's squatting, I don't know, 405, and it's awesome. Maybe he gets buried at 415, but it's cool. And the way he gets buried is interesting. Like he just like doesn't come up. He just goes right down. Meanwhile, there's the other bro who like good morning squats every single rep he does, but he can get that 415. You know what I'm saying? It's ugly. It's a little awkward. It's not. Something seems a little off with it. You feel like, bro, maybe you should like pull back and work on your form a little bit. But he's doing it. Like that's how I feel about the Charlies versus the Wray and Nephew. Like it's a little ugly, but it's pulling it off. I don't know. I don't know if any of these analogies are working. It's been a rough day. Like I spent most of the day watching a sick 14-month-old, so my brain isn't really there. But I'm trying to do this anyways because I have to put this up on Friday. Rum Bar. Here we go. On the nose. God, it's just so good. It sort of, for me, always gets lost a little bit in the shadow of the Hampden, the Rum Fire. But, it's just so beautiful. Like the brininess, the olive, the floral thing. Just that pot distilled eau de vie like purity of this. Oh, it's delightful. On the palate. Can I be honest with you for 1 second? And I'm talking as like a Hampden maniac here. Someone who should, by all rights, be like, telling you, buy the Rum Fire. Buy Rum Fire. Gun to my head, if I had to pick one of these bottles that I had to live with on its own for the rest of my life, I would not pick the Rum Fire. I would be picking the Rum Bar. I would be picking the Worthy Park. because it's just so much more. Gun to my head, I don't think there's as much going on as the Rum Fire, but it's just so much more integrated and like just beautiful and easy. And like you can mix with this all day long. You want to make like a tea punch with your crazy ass Jamaican overproof? This works great. You want to make a Wray and Ting with something aside from Wray and Nephew? This makes a better Wray and Ting than Wray does. And if you're Jamaican and watching this, try this. Go buy a bottle of Rum Bar and head to head it against Wray and your regular Wray and Ting. You will be shocked at how much better this is. In a format like this, with Glencairn glasses and water added and tasting them for on their own against each other, like the Rum Fire is kind of gonna win. But man, I like, as something to live with every day, I might go with a Rum Bar. In fact, I probably would go with a Rum Bar. Good Lord. $30. $30 gets you this. It's almost as good as the Rum Bar. I'm sorry, it's almost as good as the Rum Fire, but it's just so much more like easygoing and like it's not challenging me at all. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, moving on though to our last glass. Hampden Rum Fire, now with water. Do not try making a Wray and Ting with this, or a Rum Fire and Ting. Like it just fights the Ting. It just fights for dominance. It does not want to play along. Does it make an awesome daiquiri? Yes, it does. Does it make an awesome velvet hammer, which is a Rum Fire specific recipe? Google that. Yes, it does. It's wonderful. But this particular bottling does not want to play well with others. It wants to go its own way. And I respect that. I do. On the nose, God, it's still the cherry cola dominating, but it kind of softens up just a hair with the water. The flowers kind of come out a little bit more as opposed to the minerality, the rocks. And it is so dense and complex. I mean, again, find what you can find at $30 and send it over to me. Put it in the comments below. I don't think it's going to be as good as this. Like it, pound for pound. Like for complexity's sake, for density, for quality, like nothing beats this. Nothing beats this for $30. On the palate. Rum Fire is one of those things where, and I was just romanticizing about Rum Bar, right? Rum Fire, though, is one of those things where I'm like, I try it and I'm like, why do I bother drinking anything else? This is $30 and it is darn close to perfect. This is really good. You can't make like a good long drink with this because it takes over. Who cares? Find another drink to make with it. It deserves that. It's that good. yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, this is the one that for $30, like, completely blew my mind. Wray Nephew started me on my journey, but Rum Fire was the one that really, like, opened my eyes to, like what something coming off the still could be with no oak influence, no, funny peat smoking or anything like that. This is just long fermentation and dunder, some acid made from the cane they already had on hand, some muck made from the cane they already had on hand, and it's extraordinary. And it's $30, and it will crush pretty much anything you throw at me. And there we go. So yeah, where do we stand with these? I mean, the Rum Fire for me is the best of these. It would not be the one I would use to kind of, well, certainly not the one I would use to make cocktails, and certainly not the one I would use to kind of convert others to my cause. That would be the Rum Bar. This Rum Bar is just it. It kind of gets lost in the mix, but this is spectacular, and it's just so easy for how, like, complex and dense and interesting it is, and for how well it goes with other stuff. And then there's these two, the kind of blended options. The Wray Nephew certainly has just for lack of a better word, a smoothness to it. There's a seamlessness to this. It feels like a finished, perfected product. Charley's does not feel like that. Charley's feels kind of weird and off kilter and rough, and like they just threw some extras in there, which they maybe did. That being said, between these two, between the Wray Nephew and the Charley's, I don't think I could choose a favorite. It would depend on my mood and depend on what I was doing with them. That being said, they are cheaper than the Rum Bar and the Rum Fire, so I don't know. And relative to the rest of the liquor world, though, these are all extraordinary values. Just mind-bogglingly good values. And that's kind of the message I want to leave you with here. Like, just stop thinking that you need to spend a ton of money to get something really good. Because you don't. What you need to spend is about $30 or so. And be looking in some of the places you weren't expecting, like maybe the Jamaican white overproofs. Thanks for watching, and cheers.